Here is the 2024 Infinitis. This is the QX60 Sensory in Moonbow Blue all-wheel drive with the saddle brown leather appointed seats. The QX80 in Mineral Black with the saddle brown semi-aniline leather, and this is the Sensory trim. Which one will be a better fit for price and amenities? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. Starting with the QX60, you're going to notice the grille design is going to be the same. So you'll have that inwards mesh, gloss black. However, the main difference is this goes into the headlamp assembly, and because this is the Sensory, we have adaptive LED headlights and daytime runnings with auto leveling, whereas we have the same thing here, except this is the older light structure that was implemented before the refresh on the QX60. Ground clearance is going to be at 7.5 inches. This is over 8 inches. All-wheel drive unlocks 6,000 pounds. Here, you're at 8,500 pounds of towing, so you could tow a large boat, whereas two-wheel drive on this is only going to tow up to 3,500 pounds. And not only is it going to be wider and taller, the 80 opposed to the 60, but the engine options. This is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 with 295 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission. This is going to achieve 20 mpgs for the city and 25 mpgs for the highway, whereas this is its last year for a V8. Naturally aspirated, 5.6 liter, producing 400 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque. That's paired to a 7-speed automatic transmission, achieving 13 mpgs for the city and 19 mpgs for the highway, and larger wheels is going to be on the larger variant. You're going to be getting 20-inch, where standard will be an 18-inch for the QX60. On the 80, 20 inches standard, 22 inches an upgrade, multi-spoke, and this year they have a gloss black element that will darken out the chrome elements here. We don't have it. It's only option on the Sensory package, and it makes it look a little bit more sporty for its last year as this V8 beast. Body on frame versus the unibody construction. Running boards, because this is obviously a larger vehicle, so it's going to be a bit of a step to get in. Chrome that's going to be on the side view mirror cap, which gives it a little bit of that Nissan flair. Not a huge fan of it. I would have liked to see gloss black, which they have the package for it. I would tick the box for that. And because this was introduced back in 2011, it hasn't had a lot of differences. So the rear is going to look a little bit more older because they really haven't refreshed much. You get the oval window. Both of them will have a digital rear view mirror and a 360-degree reverse camera, but there's a big problem that I have, which you'll see in the interior with that 360 camera for the QX80. The lower the bumper comes out a lot more so than the QX60. It's a little bit more settle over there, and because this is a V8, we don't see any dual exhaust outlets. You do have one on the side, but because this is the last year, I would have liked to see him put 2 straight pipes out the back. That way it gives it an exhaust note, making the farewell to the V8. The last problem that I would have on the exterior is the trunk. Look how long it takes to open. It's gonna get there. While that's doing that, the 60 is already almost there, while this one just started. Going into 20.2 cubic feet. It's gonna have a lip from the bumper, but you have the scratch pad that will help so you don't scratch the paint. 12 volt. You can electronically fold the third row down, which we'll get to in a second. You get a little bit of storage and a spare tire, and now we're going to push this to fold it down at that 60-40 split. Cargo is going to increase to 49.1 cubic feet. Now the disadvantage is it's not necessarily a complete flat floor, as you're noticing a little bit of a lip, and to put down the second row seats. This is a large SUV, so it would be nice if it was in the back. Now I didn't have to do it this way. You can either fold it upwards like that, or fold it flat at that 60-40 split. That's going to max cargo to 95.1 cubic feet. Kick to open or power liftgate for the Sensory and the Autograph. Both will get a 12-volt charger. Storage underneath the floor. You can fold the back or third row seats at a 60-40 split. That's going to increase cargo to 41.6 cubic feet. You can also electronically fold these up for the sensory and the autograph. Unfortunately, to put the second row down to increase the cargo to 75.4, you got to go back here and fold them down. They will fold down flat for the bench at a 60-40 split. The QX80 starts off with 10-way power seat adjustment. It's a semi-aniline leather appointed first and second row with the diamond stitch, heated, ventilated, memory only for the driver, and you'll get that contrast stitching plus the quilted inlays on the door pocket, whereas on the QX60, this is the sensory. You will not receive the quilted, but if you go into the autograph, you will. 14-way power seat adjustment, heated, ventilated, and massage with memory for both the front occupants. But the big difference is going to be the headroom and the legroom because it's a wider and taller vehicle. A little bit less driver focus with a 2-dash layout with the center cluster that pops out. It's a 12.3 infotainment, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM streaming, Bluetooth audio. This is going to be the same thing in the QX60, except when you put it in that 360-degree reverse camera, it only covers 2/3 of the screen, whereas on the 60, it covers the full screen. Both of them have the same layout for the camera. Going into a more sporty driver focused setup for the 60, you're going to have the gloss black, the wood inlays, upgraded Bose sound system, heads up display, headroom and legroom. It's going to be the same on all trims. Digital rear view mirror and a pano moon roof. The center will have the touchpad for the tri-climate control, QI wireless charger. This is going to be for the infotainment and driving mode select, which on here you have a full digital reader, and you can also change out the cluster that will go through an array of information for the driver, whereas on the QX80, it will not be a full digital reader. It can go through an array of information, including turn-by-turn navigation with the wood. It's heated for the steering wheel, multi-function, going back to the center with the tri-climate control. Open this up, and that's the QI wireless charger with the 12-volt USB. Gloss black elements for the wood that's going to surround. This is the key fob for the 60. And this is the key fob for the 80. So you can see the difference in the design. Same for the backs. It's going to be a lot bigger here. That opens up into a deep storage pocket that you can move this around. And you can turn on and off the home plug. But the nice thing here is you can open it from the back seat if you want to throw any snacks for the second row, but there isn't any pass-through, which you have in the 60. Leather wrap steering wheel, multi-function, and then the door panels are going to get the wood inlay, satin aluminum, one touch up and down for the windows, the Bose sound system, and a large storage pocket, whereas the 80, it's going to be a larger storage pocket with only one beverage holder and the Bose sound system, one touch up and down for all the windows. For the second row, headroom in the QX80 with leg room, storage behind both of the front seats, a touch of the quilted inlays behind the back of the front seats, third climate control, heated second row seats, USB 12 volt, and a home plug that's all down here. The floor isn't completely flat with an armrest and some cup holders. Slide that over so you can see how I look in the center, but you do have your own feet space because of the way it's carved out. Button shoulder space is also good, and the same thing with headroom for the QX80, whereas on the QX60, the headroom is a little bit tighter. The leg space is still good, storage behind both of the front seats, third climate control, a little bit more cleaned up with USB and a home plug. The floor is more or less flat, but you have this lip here that kind of makes a pedestal for the seats. Armrests or cup holders, slide over into the center. Feet is still not an issue, nor is butt and shoulder space. It's going to be a little bit less in the width, but the nice thing here is we have manual sunshades for the door panel, soft materials, and about a medium-sized storage pocket, whereas on the QX80, you have a larger storage pocket. Both will get the one touch up and down, but no manual sunshades. And going into the third row, pull this lever, it's going to just fold right up. Walk yourself right in. or 3 more to sit. And here is where it becomes a little bit more desirable if you're wanting to utilize third row because you have some leg space, butt and shoulder space will be shared. 2 cup holders on both sides. These seats electronically move back with a large window and an air vent in the ceiling, and headroom is pretty good. Sliding into the center, it's going to be the same with headroom. Leg space is going to be a little bit tight. I'm at 6'3". Feet space isn't too bad. This does kind of go inward, so it's going to be a little bit more sharing. Butt and shoulder space will be about the same as the second row of the QX60. But as for the QX60, you push that, slides up, and you can fit 2 people in the back. You get a little storage tray here. Cup holders, it's going to be the same, except you get USB ports, air vents, a smaller window. Folding this back, it's going to be a little bit tight. So I'm going to have to fold it about mid-grade, put my foot there to stop it, so that way I actually have some leg space, in which that would be why you want to utilize the QX80 or go to the Autograph and get the captain seat so you'll have a little bit more leg space in the third row. 295 horsepower. And I know it's over 100 horsepower less than the QX80. The big difference though is this is more of an easier in and out drive. You still have the width in the interior. You still have the ability to fit people in the third row with cargo capacity. Towing is obviously going to be a lot less, but you're not spending as much at the pump. And you still have a sufficient amount of power, because 270 pound-feet of torque for this size vehicle isn't that bad. I like the ground clearance better in the QX80 though, because you feel a little bit more dominant. And the sound deadening in the QX80, even though it's larger, wider, and more boxy, is a lot better than the QX60, which makes me not really understand why this isn't better. It's better than the prior gen, but they could have sealed it up a lot more so. The QX80 is going to sit up a lot more so. It feels more dominant, feels longer, wider, and all that's going to project into the interior too with the space that you have opposed to the QX60. Plus you get 400 horsepower, the last year of the naturally aspirated V8 with 413 pound-feet of torque. It's gonna drink fuel. But when you're getting these larger vehicles, most of the time, you've already considered that in your budget. It's a very refined, smooth, a lot more quiet than the QX60, which this was introduced back in 2011. That's why I'm a little confused why this is more soundproof, because you sit up higher, more box derived. I understand you're getting the acoustic windows in the front, you're also getting the dual pane windows in the side, but it's the same thing in the 60. For maneuverability purposes, you can do it. The 0 to 60 in this is actually quite fast. Before BMW and Mercedes more or less done full refresh or even mid-cycle refreshing, this was one of those iconic vehicles that got quick speeds, one of the best in class for towing capabilities. It's just, sadly, they've never moved on. They've kept it the same, in which for 2025 we're finally getting that refresh and the grille is going to look awesome. But I still feel like the QX60 has that dynamic twist to it, which pays a little bit more heritage to the Japanese origin, where this is just a little bit more corporate. The QX60 seating for the front is a little bit better because it contours more so to your body, and you're saving quite a bit and you're getting the massage seats. Both of them do not have power sunshades in the second row, which is a huge problem for me, because when you get into the QX80, I mean, you're talking $80,000 to $90,000 vehicle. You need to start throwing in amenities. I mean, if you need to get onto it, you can. You can upgrade to 22-inch wheels on the QX80, and it doesn't actually alter the ride too much, whereas I personally own a QX60 and I put 22-inch wheels. It alters a touch, but overall the sound deadening whenever you're doing any altercations to the vehicle doesn't really change dramatically. So I do like that, and I like that it doesn't feel so overly large. And now to show you the difference in performance at a stop point with the QX80 at a red light. This is what you're going to be doing quite a bit in the inner cities. It's so settled that even the exhaust doesn't filter in as much as the QX60, but the comfort, even though this glides, the seats just are a lot more firm, so I personally like the comfort a little bit more so on a longer journey with the QX60, even in a day in and day out use. You're also getting more power seat adjustments, and the infotainment screen is more towards the windscreen, which if you use the moonroof at all, it becomes a blind spot in the sense that there's just glare that's going to go on the gloss black elements. So you're not really going to be utilizing it as much. So the cleanup for the interior has to go to the QX60, but they also did a full refresh on the vehicle, whereas this has just kept it simplified and added new components. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like, and I'd like to thank Infiniti of Clearwater for giving us these two Infinitis, the QX60 and the QX80, for our car comparison review.